that's not actually what Russia is saying. We know that Russia wants a world in which might is right, but Russia, as a matter of official rhetoric, actually insists very much that rules and process and right matter, right? There's this sort of Putin-esque obsession with legalistic argumentation. That's why you see Russian diplomats being so savvy and so well prepared on the UN Security Council. When Russia walks away from arms control agreements, for example, the New START Treaty suspending its participation a couple of years ago, Russia goes out of its way to provide legalistic and procedural justifications for what it's doing. So Russia does not want to appear like the bully that doesn't care about the international rules. Russia is actually quite concerned with paying lip service to them or pretending that the rules do matter. That just sort of as an aside in terms of how Russia wants to present itself to global public opinion. Now we can have a separate conversation as to, who sees through those Russian argumentations and to what extent they matter. But I do think it's worth stating. Now, when we come to the ironies for Russia here, and, does Russia now feel vindicated? Does Putin feel vindicated? I mean, of course, in some sense, you can argue that the way that Trump is now conducting American foreign policy, this sort of thuggish, predatory behavior, the operation in Venezuela, threatening to take on Greenland next, makes it easier for Russia to make certain arguments in the court of international public opinion. Actually, we didn't need to wait until this Venezuela operation. I think in many ways, the war in Gaza and what happened in Gaza allowed Russia to neutralize a certain amount of criticism of its own war in Ukraine, given by how this war was seen by parts of the international community. So this is not sort of the first instance that allows Russia to point to other countries' double standards or hypocrisy. And so Russia can well make this argument, see what others are doing. The problem that I see for Russia is, what good does it do Russia if it doesn't sort of win in Ukraine? Yes, it can point to US conduct and criticize it. And yes, it can style itself to be this anti-neocolonial vanguard, as it has tried to do for the last 3.5 years, essentially making this argument that Russia will lead what it calls the global majority into some different kind of international order. The problem for Russia is that it's all rhetoric. Russia cannot put anything against this US conduct, not when the Iranians were hit last summer, now not in Venezuela. So this is sort of the irony for Russia, that it has this grand anti-neocolonial narrative, but US conduct sort of pokes a hole into it. It's rhetoric first and foremost, and not much beyond. And now the Russians are not even going to fully instrumentalize it and exploit it either, because they have other interests to pursue with the United States. So this is sort of one discursive pillar of Russian foreign policy where I think there's a bit of an issue